Before the world began, there was heaven. A place of light, glory, and perfect harmony. Music filled the air like breathing, and at the center of it all was God, the creator of everything that would ever exist. And standing closest to his throne was one being, the most radiant, the most gifted, the most admired of all. His name was Lucifer, which means Lightbearer. He wasn't just another angel. He was heaven's masterpiece. God himself had adorned him with precious stones, sapphire, emerald, diamond, jasper, onyx, each one glowing with living fire. His wings shimmered like crystal flames. His face shone brighter than morning light. When he walked, colors followed him. When he sang, heaven stopped to listen. His voice was music itself, a sound so pure it could make angels weep and creation tremble in joy. Lucifer's job was the highest honor any angel could have, to stand beside God's throne as his personal guardian, the covering cherub. His duty was to protect the glory of God, to lead the songs of worship that filled eternity with light. Every day was perfection. Every sound, every color, every motion was a reflection of divine beauty. And Lucifer, standing so close to God's presence, felt that power radiate through him like sunlight through glass. But something subtle began to stir within him. At first, it was just awareness, the way others looked at him. The way angels whispered his name with awe. The way light seemed to obey his every movement. Lucifer started to notice himself. Imagine being the most beautiful being ever created. Imagine hearing the songs of millions praising the glory that you reflect, and slowly forgetting who you reflect it for. That was Lucifer's first crack, invisible, but real. And then came the day that changed everything. All of heaven was gathered before God's throne. The atmosphere trembled with wonder. Something magnificent was about to be revealed. And God spoke. I will create something new, something made in my own image. The angels looked at one another. New. What could be newer or greater than them, the shining hosts of heaven? God continued. I will make them from the dust, yet they will carry my likeness. They will think, feel, and create like I do. And through them, my Son will one day take form, to redeem all creation. Lucifer froze. His heart, if angels could have one, twisted. Humans. Made from dirt. Made in God's image. He was made of light and flame. They would be made of mud and breath. And yet God would call them his image. His Son would become one of them. The thought burned inside him. He smiled outwardly, but inside, a storm began to rise. That night, if heaven could have a night, Lucifer gazed into the sea of glass that reflected the light of God's glory. But this time, he wasn't admiring God's reflection. He was admiring his own. And then, like a spark in a dry forest, the thought appeared, small, silent, deadly. What if I didn't have to bow? What if I could be like him? That was the moment the first sin was born, not in the world, but in heaven itself. Now picture heaven in motion. Millions of angels moving through light-filled halls, singing praises, serving with joy. And among them, whispers begin to spread, quiet, uncertain, dangerous. Have you spoken with Lucifer? He says God is keeping something from us. He says we deserve more freedom. Lucifer didn't start with open rebellion. He started with questions. If God is love, he asked softly, why does he demand worship? If we have free will, why are we not allowed to use it? If we're made to be glorious, why must we bow? The questions felt harmless, even reasonable. But they carried poison. And that poison began to spread. Lucifer visited the forgotten angels first, those who guarded empty gates, those who carried messages to distant corners of heaven. I see you, he told them gently. You serve faithfully, but God never even says your name. You deserve more. And they listened. Flattery mixed with pride, a deadly blend, sweet like honey but toxic as fire. Lucifer's voice, once used to lead worship, now led deception. He gathered followers, slowly, carefully, until a third of heaven's hosts were on his side. Meanwhile, the archangel Michael sensed something wrong. Conversation stopped when he entered a room. Groups of angels scattered at his approach. Even Gabriel grew uneasy. When the time came, Lucifer stood before God's throne, his light shining brighter than ever, but this light was not holy anymore. It was pride, burning from within. He declared, I will ascend into heaven. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit upon the mount of the congregation. I will be like the Most High. Those words split heaven in half. Silence fell, then chaos. War, the first war in all creation, broke out. Imagine it, the skies of heaven torn by thunder and light. Wings that once danced together now struck like swords. Blades of pure fire clashed against shields of brilliance. Music became screams, and worship became war. Lucifer led his army with fury that could melt stars. Michael led God's host with power that could shatter mountains. When they met in the center of heaven, light and darkness collided with a roar that echoed through eternity. And then, it was over. Because no matter how bright a created being shines, it can never outshine its creator. Lucifer fell. His beauty twisted into horror. His light turned to shadow. The glory that once reflected God became a mockery of itself. God's voice thundered through the heavens. How you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning. You have said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven, but you are brought down to the pit. And with that, the great deceiver and his followers were cast out. They fell like lightning, down, 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 until darkness swallowed them. Heaven had its first wound. Lucifer was no longer the Lightbearer. He became Satan, the adversary. But his hatred for God did not fade. It only changed its target. Now imagine the newly formed earth, quiet, green, perfect. God's creation blooming in beauty. And there, in a garden called Eden, two humans walked in peace. Adam and Eve, the ones made in God's image. Satan watched them from the shadows. His heart burned with envy and rage. These are the ones he loves. These are the ones he gave authority to. He remembered the moment he fell, the whisper that started it all. And now he would use the same weapon. He took the form of a serpent, not the crawling kind we know today, but radiant and graceful, covered in shimmering scales that caught the light like jewels. He waited until Eve came near the forbidden tree, the one God had said not to touch. Then he spoke. Did God really say you can't eat from any tree? Eve jumped. She'd never heard a lie before. She'd never heard doubt. No, she said. We can eat from every tree except this one. If we eat it, we'll die. The serpent laughed softly. Die? You won't die. God just knows that if you eat it, your eyes will open. You'll see what he sees. You'll be like him. The words echoed, the same desire that once lived in Lucifer's own heart. Be like God. Eve looked at the fruit again. It seemed brighter now, more beautiful. She called Adam. They both stood before the tree. One bite, that's all it took. And in that moment, paradise fell. Innocence shattered. Shame and fear entered the world. The serpent smiled. Satan had found his revenge. But God had already written the ending. He spoke to the serpent. The seed of the woman will crush your head, and you will strike his heel. A promise. A prophecy. A countdown to Satan's defeat. Time passed. Generations rose and fell. And behind every tragedy, every war, every act of hatred, there was the whisper of the same voice. Satan whispered to Cain. Your brother thinks he's better than you. And Cain killed Abel, the first murder, born from jealousy and pride. He whispered to kings and empires, teaching men how to enslave, how to conquer, how to destroy themselves. He twisted wisdom into arrogance, power into corruption, freedom into rebellion. But through it all, God's promise remained. A child would come, born of a woman, who would crush the serpent's head. When Jesus was born, Satan recognized him instantly. This was the one. The promised child. The light he had tried to extinguish since Eden. He tried to kill him as a baby through Herod's decree. He failed. He tempted him in the wilderness, offering the kingdoms of the world in exchange for worship. He failed again. Finally, he thought he had succeeded when Jesus hung on the cross. He laughed as the sky went dark. He celebrated when the Son of God breathed his last. Hell roared in victory. But then, the third day, the tomb burst open with light brighter than creation's first dawn. Jesus rose, alive, holding the keys of death and hell, Satan's keys. At that moment, the serpent's fate was sealed. 2,000 years have passed since that day, and Satan knows his time is short. He can't win, so he deceives. He can't destroy heaven, so he targets hearts. He whispers the same lie he once believed. You don't need God. You can do it yourself. You deserve more. The same poison, repackaged for every generation. But the end is written. One day, the sky will split open. The King of Kings will return, not as a baby, but as a warrior clothed in light. Angels will fill the heavens once more, and every knee will bow. Satan will gather his armies, human and fallen alike, for one final rebellion. They'll stand against the returning king, thinking they can win. But Jesus will speak one word, only one, and it will be over. The armies of darkness will dissolve. The earth will shake with final judgment. And an angel, just one, will seize Satan and throw him into the lake of fire, where he will remain forever. No more pride. No more lies. No more tears. And the world, the one he tried to ruin, will be made new. Imagine this. A world without pain or death. A world where every tear is wiped away. A world where light never fades, because God himself is the light. That's how the story ends. Pride began it. Love will finish it. Lucifer, the Lightbearer, became the Prince of Darkness. But the true light, the light of the world, will shine forever. And when it's all over, creation will remember the lesson that began before time. No throne, no crown, no glory is worth losing the presence of God.